Alrighty, so the first game of the Sunday action is now in the books, and I'm actually going to put on a little bit of a delay in terms of watching the Fire versus Inter Miami game because despite the fact that I only have 15 minutes before that game started, I'm just going to sneak in this review and try to do this relatively quickly and then basically watch that game on a bit of a delay. But that being said, let us jump into the first game, which is Vancouver versus Austin FC, and I gotta say, for Vancouver Whitecaps, they sent a message to the rest of the league and maybe even sent a message to Inter Miami down the line that this is not a team that people should not take seriously anymore because this is a performance that if you would have thought that they had a let off after that incredible win against Pumas down to Mexico, yeah, this was definitely not one of them. In fact, this was a career night for Brian White, or in this case, a career afternoon. That is because this was an afternoon game. But in the first half, Takoko would deny Uzuni after Vancouver clearance goes right to Uzuni, who had a 1v1. So a little bit fortunate there for Uzuni, but Takoko would make a big save here. And then Wolf would hit it right to Takoko before Barrow would miss wide from close range. And despite the fact that when you look at the final scoreline, Austin actually was the better team, at least in the first 10 minutes or so. Well, the only positive thing you can say about Los Verdes in this one, and as I said, they got off to a strong start, looking to try to get the opening goal. The first shot of the game for the Whitecaps, see White heads it wide, but then on the second shot of the game, it's in the back of the net, and it's Brian White. He started his career day with a goal here from Rios and Ocampo to give the Whitecaps a 1-0 lead. He looked for another one there, but missed wide in the 15th minute before Rios would hit it onto the roof of the net. But then in the 38th minute, Brian White strike again. He scored from Sabi and Priso to make it 2-0 in favor of the Whitecaps, and it was optional defending there in an Austin perspective. And keep in mind, this was an Austin team coming into this game as one of the best defensive team in the league. This game, they definitely did not look like the best defensive team in the league. In fact, this kind of looked like last season Austin with how they defended. Though, again, part of that mainly because this was a game where the Whitecaps were just hitting on all cylinders against Austin. But we do head to halftime with Vancouver leading 2-0. In the second half, Stuver would deny Sabi from close, but then just a minute later, Sabi would score anyway. So he scored to make it 3-0 in favor of the Whitecaps, and once again, just terrible defending there in an Austin perspective, who left Sabi wide open on the second phase of play there. Rios would then put it wide from close in the 59th minute. It was all Whitecaps early on, and this is where it looked like it could get up more ugly than the 3-0 scoreline with how one-way traffic it was, and it indeed it did because in the 59th minute, Brian White would complete his hat trick. So he scored here to make it 4-0 in favor of the Whitecaps. Veselinovic actually hits the post here, but White was there in the right place, right time to clean up the mess, and just like that, the Whitecaps were up 4-0 and was cruising in this one. And they weren't done because Suver would then deny Sabi from close before Rios would put it wide from close range, and then he robbed Berhalter from point blank range in the 70th minute. And like I said, this could have been 6 or 7-0 in favor of the Whitecaps if it wasn't for Stuver. And I gotta say, for Brad Stuver, he did everything he can to not make the scoreline more uglier than what the final scoreline is. If he wasn't at his best in this game, this could have been easily 6 or 7 1 in terms of the final scoreline. And then a penalty was given to the Whitecaps after Devetsky would brought down White in the box. So here comes Rios a chance to trying to score a goal from the spot. I was kind of surprised that Brian White didn't get the chance to score here from the spot, but I guess they want to give it to Rios because White was already on a hat trick. There was really no need for him to be from the spot there. And you also want to get your under number 9 get going in terms of the scoring, but it did not happen because Stuver would deny Rios from the spot and actually recycle, and Bovalina had a chance on the second phase of play, but he was also denied by Stuver. And this is kind of where I'm just feeling, man, I really feel bad for Stuver because he is just getting completely hung out to dry by this Austin defense that pretty much had waved the white flag ever since minute number 10. White would then puts one right to Stuver in the 73rd minute, and then White thought he scored his fourth goal, but was disallowed for offside. I think White could have had 5 or 6 goals in this game. I mean, that just shows you how he was on a career night in this one. In fact, I say that not as exaggeration because he got denied by the post in the 78th minute from close range. So that's like the second time or the third time the Whitecaps got denied by the post. But in the 83rd minute, he was not denied of his fourth goal, as he scored here from Ahmed and Ngondo to make it 5-0 in favor of the Whitecaps, and Brian White joined a pretty elusive club of becoming one of the few players to score 4 goals in a game in MLS. I can't quite remember who was the last player to score 4 goals. Oh yeah, it was Jordan Morris a couple of seasons ago against Sporting KC when he scored or 4 goals in a game. And then the post would deny Ahmed from close. So again, that's probably the third time that Vancouver hit the post up to this point. Though in the 90th minute, Pereira did ruin the clean sheet for the Whitecaps, and it was a banger too that Danny Perez scored here. Definitely in contention for goal of the week, but that was the only positive that you could say it in an Austin perspective, because in the end, I mean, this was just a definition of man against boys. Like this was just as ugly as the 6-1 beating that the Quakes took against DC United last week. As in the end, it ended 5-1 in this one. The shots in this one, 26 shots compared to 11 that Austin had. 11 shots on goal. Like, again, when I say that this could have been 6 or 7-1 in favor of Vancouver, I wasn't kidding. I mean, they were peppering that goal that Stuver has compared to 4 that Austin had. 4 shots off target to 6 that Vancouver has. 5 shots that was blocked compared to 3 that Austin has. And possession-wise, 52% possession compared to 48% possession that Austin has in this game. And I also think that this was just a combination of Vancouver probably playing the best game that they have ever had. Not only this season, but this might be the best game they've ever played in MLS. Of the time I've been talking about the Vancouver Whitecaps, and ever since this channel started talking about MLS, I don't recall a moment where the Whitecaps have played this good. Maybe last season when they won 5-0 against the Timbers on the road, but I argue this performance was even better than that, because they legitimately could have made 7 or 8-1 in favor of Austin in this one. And for Austin, it's also a combination of the worst performance of the season. It's not even close. I mean, it's gonna that can happen. I mean, I don't think, if you're an Austin fan, I know it's easy to overreact after this game. They still have a very good season so far, but it happens. I mean, when you have play your worst game of the season, and then you just ran into a team that is an absolute buzzsaw right now, that is the Vancouver Whitecaps. That's kind of the result that we saw in this one. And like I said, this is a message that the Whitecaps have sent to the rest of the league, and especially sent to Inter Miami down the line as well. Because I have a feeling, everybody said that Inter Miami got an easy draw to the final of the CONCACAF Champions Cup. The Whitecaps want to say not so fast, because I'm very interested in terms of heading into that two-legged affair, where I think the Whitecaps are going to give Inter Miami a really tough time. I mean, this is a team that have shown they have the resilience to get through tough time throughout the season, and I would not be surprised if they can pull off the major upset against Inter Miami. And like I said, after that victory that had against Pumas, an incredible late goal that they scored to win the two-leg affair, I just feel like this is a team of destiny, and this might be the team that, who would have thought that might be a team joining the Seattle Sounders as the only MLS team to win CONCACAF Champions Cup. I mean, it feels like the Cascadia region is definitely representing in the CONCACAF Champions Cup region, that is. But that being said, moving on in the next one. So while there was a lot of scoring in this one, for the rest of the game, yeah, there wasn't really too much scoring. In fact, all 3 of these games ended 1-0. This one actually ended up 1-0 in favor of the host. And I gotta say, for the Philadelphia Union, yeah, reality I think has started to set in, and I think that new head coach boost that they got from Bradley Carnell, it is definitely ward off in these last couple of games. Now, in the first half, Ilic would puts it high from long range before Dimani would puts it over from long range. Rick would then deny Wolf from point blank, but it falls to Ojeda, who had a second chance, but he missed wide there. By the way, Andrew Rick was in this game. I think Blake was dealing with a bit of a knock, so he wasn't available in this one. But it was a lively start to this game. Both of these teams were creating some chances early on. Lukic would puts it wide from long range before Ilic would puts it over from long range in the 20th minute. The shots were 5 apiece, 25 minutes in, just to tell you how entertaining the beginning was in this one. Parks would then puts it over from long range before Dimane would heads it wide from close range, and we do head to halftime scoreless between both of these teams, despite the fact that both of these teams had some chances. In the second half, Wolf tried to curl one in, but he missed wide there. NYCFC was definitely on the front foot, looking to get the breakthrough, and they do so in the 55th minute as Alonso Martinez, he scored from Ilic to make it 1-0 in favor of NYCFC. Yeah, that was not a great moment there for Andrew Rigg. He just hesitated there, and when you're a goalkeeper and when you hesitate coming off your line, yeah, that's usually not a good thing to do. And because of that, didn't get there in time and was punished for it. Sullivan did look to answer, but he missed one in the 59th minute before Morales puts it wide from long range in the 60th minute. That sequence also came after Rick basically just kicked it right into an NYCFC player as he was kicking this one upfield. Safe to say that Andrew Rick still has the nerves in terms of what happened, and that can happen with a young goalkeeper when you just made a mistake like that. Can see the goal. It does take time to try to get that out of your system. Thankfully for the Union, he didn't really make any mistake for the rest of the game. Sullivan would then puts it wide from long range before he heads it right to Freeze in the 66th minute. Baribo would then hits it right to Freeze in the 70th minute as the Union was pushing now to try to get the equalizer. Freeze would then deny let me see. Yeah, denied Donovan on the header. Couldn't quite read the word there for a second. But this is where, it's kind of like all hands on deck for NYCFC. Feels like they were shutting down shop maybe a little bit too early, even at home, because, yeah, they were really defending deep to trying to get 3 points. Baribo would then heads it wide from close in the first minute stoppage time. And thankfully for NYCFC, they survived the pressure that the Union put late in this game. 1-0 win, that is, for NYCFC at City Field, which I think this is the first time that they play their home game at City Field, because obviously they can't play it at the Yankees Stadium because the Yankees are playing the Giants in this series. But shots in this one, 17 shots for the 11 that NYCFC had, 2 shots on goal for the 3 that the Union has. Both teams had 6 shots off target, 8 shots that was blocked for the 3 that NYCFC had, and the possession wise dead even at 50%. So yeah, good bounce back win for NYCFC after that tough loss that they suffered last week against Minnesota. They're still a little bit inconsistent, which that kind of frustrates NYCFC fan, but at least they're happy that they're back on a winning note. And for the Union, like I said, after that good start that they had, things are started to go south relatively quick. And one of the reasons why things have gone south is that the goals have started to dry up for this team. I mean, the beginning of the season, this team looked like the old Union team that was a buzzsaw in front of goal, and now lately the goals have definitely dried up, and those guys that was supposed to contribute Tribute, yeah, they're not contributing. Like, remember when Ty Baribo got off to a great start? He hasn't scored a goal ever since he got off to that incredible start to the season. And not to mention, they don't have Daniel Gastek in this game as well, and won't have him for the for at least the rest of eternity because they decided to sell him to the Columbus Crew just recently this weekend. Now, moving on, in terms of the next match, is Montreal and Charlotte FC. So the good news for Montreal is that they're finally back home, and they must be very happy because after a 7-game road trip to start the season, a brutal start to the year, they must be happy when it comes to finally getting a chance to return home and maybe end the winless run. And yeah, it didn't happen. In the first half, the Post would deny Campbell from close, as I thought Montreal was on the front foot with a couple of chances. But in the 16th minute, Pepiel would score on the first shot of the game for Charlotte, and it was coming off of a bad turnover for Montreal as well. So yeah, not a great moment there for that Montreal defense that has been pretty poor throughout this season. But Charlotte wouldn't care; they were up 1-0 up to this point. Wilson looked to respond, but he missed wide in the 25th minute before Pepiel would flash one wide after a lightning counterattack in this one. And then Siwas would deny Ajiman from close. One thing I noticed in this game is that Charlotte was going with their usual play of kind of sitting deep and trying to hit on the transition, and it was very successful because Montreal had a tough time in terms of containing this Charlotte transitional play. Siwas then denied Beal from close in the second minute of stoppage time, and then Ajiman would flash one wide from close range. And despite all the pressure that Charlotte has put, it was still only up by 1-0 heading into the second half. Now in the second half, Owusu would put it wide from close before he missed wide from close in the 58th minute. Montreal definitely started well as they were looking to try to get the equalizer. Veroni would then hits the side netting before Kalina denied Veroni from point blank range in the 72nd minute. And again, this is why I said that Charlotte only let 1-0 because yeah, you kind of had a sense that with them getting this 1-0 lead, it's probably not going to be enough even with how good their defensive line is. With Montreal was putting a lot of pressure in the second half. Though as I said that, Siwas would deny Abada after Siwas actually turned the ball over and right to Abada there. So Jonathan Siwas kind of got himself a little redemption there because that would have not been a great moment for the Montreal netminder. Vargas would then clip the post on the back post in the 74th minute, and really as the time winds down, Charlotte was just kind of shutting up. They were trying to defend deep to hold on to this 1-0 lead and absorb all kinds of pressure. Kalina would deny Duke, but it was right to Owusu, who tried to pounce on the rebound, but completely whips it. And yeah, that moment's kind of some Montreal in this one. They had the chances in this one to tie the game up. Owusu would then miss wide from long range before Sunchek would put it high from long range in the 5th minute of stoppage time, and that was the final chance for Montreal. As in the end, Charlotte does hold on to win 1-0 in this one. The boos were raining down loudly inside Stade Saputo. I don't blame Montreal fans being very upset with this performance. I mean, it's been a miserable time this season, and it just feels like it's a very toxic environment right now between the fan base and also the ownership and the front office of this team. But the shots in this one, 19 shots for the 8 that Charlotte has, 4 shots on goal for the 2 that Montreal has, 7 shots off target for the 3 that Charlotte has, no shots that was blocked for the 9 that Montreal has, and possession-wise, 65% possession compared to 35% possession that Charlotte has in this game. Now, moving on into the next one. So, from one team that has the fan base at home that is not very happy with their team how they play, to another fan base that is also not happy of how their team play in terms of their ownership. Although I will say that for DC United, at least this game was a little bit of an improvement compared to the 6-1 beating that they took in the hands of the San Jose Earthquakes. But unfortunately, they still come off on a losing and against FC Cincinnati. Now in the first half, we have Barraza denying angle from close range, so Barraza got a chance to start for the very first time. I wonder, is that partially due to the fact that after Kim give up 6 goals in that game, that that's why they decided to make the goalkeeping switch. Even though I mean, when I look at the last game where DC conceded 6 against the Quakes, really like most of the goals that Kim gave up, there was really nothing I can say that he could do. Maybe the second goal that Kim gave up probably should have done better, but the rest of the 6 goals was just simply bad defense that just completely hung Kim Jong Un out on drive. But apparently Troy Lesesne doesn't see it that way, and he decided to put Barraza in this one. But in the 3rd minute, Robinson would head it just wide before Valenzuela hits one right to Barraza after just a bad giveaway from DC. That would be kind of a theme, at least early in this one, especially for bad defensive mistake from DC in this one. Since he was on the front foot, DC looked like they were still reeling for that 6-1 beatdown that they had against the Quakes last week. Orellano would hit one right to Barraza before Bartlett almost scored one of the worst own goal you would ever see this season. Just a blind back pass there, and this is kind of the thing when you're a defender where you can't just do these blind back pass because yes, you might be under pressure, but just simply do the blind back pass to your goalkeeper when you don't know if your goalkeeper is in your position. Yeah, that's a recipe for disaster every single time, and DC got very lucky. The fact that Barraza just about cleared that one off the line before we almost saw one of the worst own goal, and a moment that kind of just sums up DC season happened in this one. But yeah, like I said, it just feels as a matter of time before one of these silly mistakes from DC is going to be punished. Celentano would then deny Benteke as that was DC's first shot before Cervania would flash one wide off of a deflection as DC kind of started to woke up a little bit after a bad start and were looking for the opening goal. However, in the 28th minute, Cincinnati would get the opening goal as Dado Valenzuela would score here to make it 1-0 in favor of Cincinnati. And yeah, this kind of came after just a bad turnover from DC. Again, you just kind of had a feeling with how loosely they were playing at the back where one of these mistakes was going to get punished, and that is exactly what happened, and also just some terrible defending there from DC. Despite the fact that Valenzuela kind of went beast mode that there to beat the entire DC back line. Shrell did look to respond, but he hits it right to Salutano before Orellano would hit it right to Barraza on the free kick, and we do head to halftime with the road team leading 1-0 in this one as well. In the second half, Valenzuela would look for another, but he missed wide as the flag went up. Benteke would then head it wide from close before Peglo would miss wide from long range as DC was once again started to push to try to get the tying goal. Herrera would put one into the stands before Denke on the other end puts it just wide from long range. And really, as the time winds down, Cincinnati was kind of doing the same thing that Charlotte was doing, just kind of sit deep. And I would say kind of the same thing that NYCFC did. These three games were kind of very similar, where the team, once they got that 1-0 result heading in the last 15 minutes, they're just gonna sit deep and hope that they can get all 3 points. Now, obviously, more times or not, that usually doesn't quite work out. But in this case, and especially in these two teams' cases, when they're playing bad teams, sometimes that, of course, works out because really there was not too much pressure or too much pushback that DC put in the last 15 minutes of this game. And as a result, Cincinnati, they walk away with a 1-0 win in this one. Once again, the boos rain down at Audi Field as well. I mean, as I mentioned, these two teams, Montreal and DC, they look like they're destined to finish that last alongside with TFC. I've said it in the beginning of the season, those three looks like are going to be nailed to finish in the bottom three this year. And now we're 8 weeks into the season, and it's still kind of the same thing compared to what we saw in the beginning of the year. Shots in this one, 15 shots for the 12 that Cincinnati has, 5 shots on goal for the 2 that DC had, 4 shots off target for the 3 that Cincinnati has, 8 shots that was blocked for the 2 that Cincinnati has, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to 47% possession that Cincinnati has in this game. With that being said, I am now going to switch board and look at the last two games to finish up part 1 of this review of the Saturday night action of match week number 8. All right, so now moving on to Nashville versus RSL, and it looks like this game was gonna end in a draw, and it would have been a very frustrating way to end in a draw in a Nashville perspective, because for most part of this game, they were the better team, but thankfully they eventually broke through late in this game. In the first half, Priel would put it wide from close before Mark Duke would put it wide from close range. RSL was actually the better team to start in this game as they were pressing for the opening goal. Luna had a free kick that was deflected off the wall and goes right to Willis. But in the 12th minute of this game, RSL finally got their deserved opening goal after a good start, as Marchuk would score here to make it 1-0 in favor of RSL. Willis did make a great save there to deny Gonzalez, but unfortunately falls right into the path of Marchuk, who buries that one to give RSL a 1-0 lead. Brookman did look to respond, but he puts it way wide from long range. But in the 30th minute, Nashville does respond, and Daniel Lovitz would score from tag save to tie the game up at 1 apiece. Just a vintage Nashville set piece. Just because Walker Zimmerman is not there for this Nashville team doesn't mean they still don't have a threat in the air, especially on the set piece. And Lovitz was kind of doing his best Walker Zimmerman impression with a powerful header there from the lovely delivery there from Eddie Paxaf. And yeah, just like that, that ties the game up at 1 apiece. Brookman would then look to get the lead, but he puts it high from close for Nashville. But there was no doubt the momentum was with the host. They were pushing to try to get the lead here. Brawl would deny Surge from close before he missed high in the back post in the 3rd minute of stoppage time, and we do head to halftime with the score tied up at 1 apiece. In the second half, Nashville kind of picked up where they left off. Late in the first half, continued to press for the lead. It started with Quasim missed high from close before he missed just wide on the doorstep of goal not long after. Willis then denied Naha from close in the 58th minute, and in the post would deny task staff. It goes up into the Nashville Knights, and Surge we're looking to try to hit this one in, but miss wide there. The pressure was definitely mounting in a Nashville perspective. This RSL team, it was kind of like bend but don't break kind of defense that they were playing in, and maybe they're started to kind of do something similar to what we see in the previous two road team, which is they're maybe just going to try to hold on late in this game. Mule would then hits one right to Cabral before Berea. Looked like he scored against the run of play for RSL, but VAR disallowed the goal for offside, and rightfully so. I mean, Jesus Pereira was in an offside position there, but yeah, that's a warning sign for Nashville, because just because you've been the better team, you got to be careful not to get caught at the back. Luna would then hits it right to Willis in the 80th minute for Mayer hits it over from close range, but then in the 89th minute, a penalty was given to Nashville after Palacios brought down Mukta from the spot here. And this is also where I wrote, Nashville, they have had their problem this season from the penalty spot. Normally, when a penalty is given for a team, it's kind of almost a sure thing. You couldn't say that for this Nashville SC team. They have had their struggle this season from the spot. In fact, they're probably one of the worst, if not the worst team this season when it comes to penalty kick conversion. They have missed their fair share of penalties. So by no means this was a guarantee. So it was a question: is it Mukta going to step in, or is it going to be Surge? They decided to go with Surge, who already missed a penalty early this season. But this time he makes no mistake of it, buries it right down the middle, and just like that, Nashville gets the lead. And most importantly, the 3 points as well, as they win this one 2-1 against RSL. The shots in this one, 22 shots for the 12 that RSL had, 7 shots on goal for the 5 that RSL had, 6 shots off target for the 9 that Nashville has, 5 shots that was blocked for the 1 that RSL had, and possession-wise, 53% possession compared to the 47% possession that Nashville has in this game. And overall, I think the result was kind of on point. Nashville, they were really pushing hard to try to get that second goal. RSL tried to hold on to it, and while it kind of worked out, at least for the last two road teams that I've talked about, or in the case of NYCFC that was trying the same thing. Again, when you decide to trying to do the bend but don't break, or should I say, call road heave mode late in the game, it doesn't usually end that well more times or not, and that's exactly what happened in this case. And as a result, RSL weren't able to hold on to get a point out of this game and walk away with nothing out of the Music City. But that being said, now moving on into the last game, at least for the first part of this review, is Dallas and the Seattle Sounders. And boy, did the Sounders needed this one. I mean, it's been a struggle so far in the beginning of the season, especially in terms of the goal scoring department. But they just did enough in this one, and also mostly just kind of shut down this Dallas attack. Which again, this is kind of the frustrating thing about Dallas this season, where they have games where they look good on the attacking end, and then they have these kind of game where they just look absolutely horrendous going forward on the attacking end. The first shot of the game did see Musa puts it wide from close. Not much really happened, at least in the first 15 minutes, as the shot were one apiece. But then the 17th minute on the second shot for Seattle, it's in the back of the net. It's Muswaski, the one that gets the goal here, his first goal of the season for the Sounders, and kind of got fortunate there because De La Vega struck the post there, but it just fall kindly to Muswaski, who scored probably one of the easiest goal he will ever score in his career to give the Sounders a 1-0 lead. Vargas did look for another, but he puts it high before Musa missed wide on the header, and then he puts it wide from long range in the 27th minute before Julio puts it wide from long range, as Dallas was starting to put some sustained pressure, trying to push to get the tying goal. But for the most part, they were taking a lot of low percentage shots. The Sounders were not letting anything chances for Dallas to try to create inside the box. De La Vega would then curl it wide in the 42nd minute before Pass would deny Rodon from close. But we do head to halftime with Seattle leading 1-0. In the second half, it looked like Muswaski scored for the second time tonight, but the goal was disallowed for offside. And once again, very similar to the first goal that he scored or here, where it came off the post. He was in the right place, right time. Unfortunately, this time he was in an offside position compared to the first time when he just stayed onside. But not much really happened, at least in the second half, and that kind of favors the road team, especially when the road team has the lead. In fact, we go for a period where really not much happened. It looks very stop and go. There was a lot of whistle, a lot of yellow cards that was being handed out. Ferreira would then hits it right to Pass in the 84th minute before Baker Whiting, which struck the post on the header. And yeah, it's safe to say the Poles have not been kind to Seattle in this one. They hit it 3 times in this one. Fortunate for them, Dallas couldn't really do anything going forward late in this game, as in the end, the Sounders, they needed this one badly. They got the massive 3 points to win 1-0 against Dallas. The shots in this one, 14 shots for the 10 that Dallas had, but only one of them was on target compared to the 4 that the Sounders had. 2 shots off target for the 5 that Dallas had. Both teams had 4 shots that was blocked, and possession-wise, 54% possession compared to the 46% possession the Sounders has in this game. And by the way, for Dallas, the struggle at home continue. I think they've only won once so far this season at home, if I'm not mistaken. And again, the big problem for Dallas so far this season is that this is just such an unpredictable team week in and week out. There's times where they look good on the attacking end, and then there's times where they look like this, which they just kind of had nothing going whatsoever. Now, part of that is because of the fact that that Sounders D really kind of showed up in this game, but still, notice how I didn't mention Lucho Acosta name. He pretty much was invincible in this game. But there you have it. That is pretty much it for the review of all of these game, and I'm only like 5 minutes off at least from the Miami and Chicago game, that is. But either way, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button. Tomorrow I'm gonna be doing the review of the last 6 games, including the Sunday games that we already seen one of them so far. But until then, hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, make sure you like, smash the subscribe button, and yeah, I of course will see you guys next time.